Hi Gemini, welcome to a love reading for March 2019 for single people. This is specifically for single Geminis. I'm Raina. This is the what's the name of this deck? Morgan Greer. Ooh. Boy. That's pretty boy, you got like some of the most intense of the what do you call it cards? Emotional. Oh wow. And this is supposed to be for single people. Yikes. Okay. So this is the current state of your mind, your attitude about love, what have you. It's Nine of Swords. So this is a card that's connected to anxiety. You know, to me, it would speak of somebody who has come out of a negative relationship and they have it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. However, and maybe like something that you did not want that happened, you know, a relationship that ended that perhaps you felt a sense of like the other person left you and that triggered anxiety. And why does that trigger anxiety? Because it makes a person feel unworthy. It makes a person feel like abandoned, especially if you have that in your past. And it's interesting because the Gemini is a sign that I associate with, you know, being freewheeling. You know, the kind of people that don't mind being alone, although you are very social and you might like to surround yourself with people. I'm talking about in terms of having a partnership. But then I think about the Lover's card, and it's connected to Gemini, so I don't know. But I think also the Nine of Swords could be that you feel anxious because you're like, when am I going to meet the right person? I just did, what sign? Pisces? And I was talking about maybe settling down. So maybe you're the kind of person that spent a long time playing the field or just simply dating, having flings, not really taking love seriously. And you found the years ticking by, and now maybe you want a child. Maybe you want to establish a domestic life, and you've gotten your wild oats sowed, and you're done with that phase of your life. And now you look around, and it's hard to meet someone, and you might be a little bit anxious, especially if you're a woman, because women have biological clocks that tick. Men can impregnate women well into their, you know, elderly years, but a woman has a certain window of time. So you might be a little bit anxious if that is something that's going on. Let's look at the past that might be influencing this. The Five of Cups, a card of mourning the loss of something. So even, you know, a single person could be somebody who's a widow or widower. And maybe you have lost, you were mourning the loss of your spouse or your, you know, partner. And it's been hard for you to even think about getting back into that new relationship. Maybe you feel guilty. Maybe you feel like rusty. Who knows? But there's definitely, I mean, I can't sugarcoat these cards. These cards do seem kind of like emotionally intense. Now, I know that most of you know this, that this is a general reading. And a lot of people will write to me and they're talking about it like it's astrology. This has nothing to do with astrology, except when I talk about certain transits and you have a sun in Gemini, or if you happen to be watching for Gemini rising, it might affect you in that case, because transits are different. This is with the tarot itself. It is not, you can't really, we're just dividing people by signs. That's all that we're doing here. So I hope that makes sense, but I do still get people who think that it is somehow the same as astrology, and it's not. So sometimes I get distracted by these trains, I have to admit. And I wait for them to go by so that they don't drown out my voice. Okay. So perhaps somebody that is a water sign was the person who left you. And, you know, in March, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde. So I want you to be careful. If you were left by somebody, not to just, and you feel like, oh, I want to get back together with them so badly. I want you to stop and I want you to think, Gemini, because that relationship might be better off if you two are apart. Even if you really want to be back together with that person because there was a reason that you split up in the first place. Even if it wasn't your doing, hopefully in some cases when people get left by the other person, they kind of examine the relationship and they say, you know what, good riddance. It really wasn't a good relationship. I was really foolish to stay in as long as I did. And sometimes that's the best way to view it. Okay, so not knowing what is going on in your life in the past, but just keep that in mind, because there might be a temptation that comes in March where you hear from somebody from your past, and they might be somebody who you were dating. And you might think with the Nine of Swords that this anxiety that you're feeling, the only way you can relieve it is to get back with somebody from the past. But that's not the way life works. That could just open up a whole new can of worms. So it's okay to mourn the loss of a relationship, even though you know it's not good for you, but just don't let it keep you in that constant state of anxiety. The advice is represented by the Eight of Cups, and it's like leaving what no longer serves you. And so, as I said, this is a relationship of singles. So it's not that I'm saying that you're in a relationship, but you may need to leave psychologically from a relationship that still holds you in its sway. And even if somebody has passed away, that you're mourning the loss of them, if it has been a significant amount of time that you have been a widow or widower, maybe you need to leave the local area. If you're still living in the same place, in the same house, maybe you're trapped by the past, and perhaps you need to start over again. The Eight of Cups is, to me, more of a psychological or emotional leaving, departure, where you're like seeking something else that perhaps is of a spiritual nature. Maybe that's something that you need. Maybe you need like a spiritual quest to go on because you're too caught up emotionally in some other past love situation that has gone bad. And I should say too, with the Five of Cups, if it's mourning the loss of something, it could be a parent. It could be something that happened when you were a child that has still kind of haunted you, if you will. That sense of abandonment, that sense of a sudden death, a sudden exit of of a parent that was close to you, or a some other kind of feeling of abandonment that was re-triggered, or that you're afraid of tempting fate again, having if you get close to anyone. And, you know, it's funny because I didn't read the card that is the challenge card, but maybe this is a spread I just devised. Maybe this is a better way of doing it. What the challenge for you is represented by the Temperance card. This could be that there is a drinking problem, either with you, or an addiction problem, either with you, that is clouding your judgment and making you anxious, making you sad in a prolonged way that you're like unable to heal. Now, again, some of these things happen after bad things happen. So some people, they lose a spouse, they hit the bottle, and that drinking, what does it do? It produces more anxiety. Initially, it appears to relieve anxiety, and then it creates even more. So it's like it becomes a vicious circle. The thing that you take to alleviate your sadness becomes the very thing that causes it, and or causes anxiety. Maybe you relieve the sadness and you gain the anxiety. But also, the Temperance card is connected to Sagittarius. And so that might be that a person from your past that you need to stay the hell away from. I don't know. The Temperance card in the challenge position could also mean, I would say, even emotional imbalances. And Gemini is a sign that is a dual sign. Sagittarius, all the mutable signs are dual signs. But with Gemini, Gemini is known to shift and to to change, because it's ruled by Mercury. So with Gemini, if you have this Temperance, maybe there's like even with yourself, you may have different, that you change too often, that you are your emotions shift so much that you never feel like you can stay with a person. You get bored too easily. I think that's definitely true. And maybe that tendency has created a pattern for you that you're trying to break out from. And maybe that's what this card is about, is that you feel anxious because maybe it's hard for you to get close to people. Okay. And because of that, you have a tendency to like fall in and out of love too quickly. I think that one reason for this is, unhealed trauma, because the person doesn't want to get too close to anybody. So once the relationship starts to get to the point where the people are getting ready to marry or move in together, and then they're going to be with each other 24/7. It's just too much for the person, the Gemini individual, to handle. And they do something to sabotage the relationship, or they just simply walk away. So that Eight of Cups, which is about walking away, I think as advice, I think it's about, make sure when you walk away that you're doing so because you're walking towards something. So you're not just escaping. That's, I think, the advice I would give you with that one. What is coming in is represented by the Knight of Cups. This can be an offer of love, but real love. The soulful kind of relationship. I'm thinking, I don't know if this card is connected to a specific water sign. Like the Page of Cups is connected to Pisces. Maybe, I don't know if this is connected to Cancer or not. But also with the Temperance card, if you're attracted to people with addictions, that obviously is not going to end well, because, people with addictions are not going to be present in the relationship. It's going to be hard for somebody who has an addictive nature to really show up for that relationship. They may be always like 3 sheets to the wind. So With the Knight of Cups, it can be an offer of love. Where, you know, do you accept it? Do you accept that offer? Are you like open to it? And then we have the Death card as the final card. The Death card is a card of transition. So maybe the Death card is you finally coming to an end with something that has been plaguing you. Maybe this is the time of transition to a new life. I'm going to pick an additional card just for clarity's sake, because I got another major arcana card, the Hierophant. Interesting. So this is a traditional card. It's a card of marriage. I wonder if the Death card is connected to Pisces. I mean, I'm sorry, Scorpio. And even the Eight of Cups. Maybe there's a Scorpio person. I really think Geminis and Scorpios are so different that it would amaze me that you know, you could find yourself with one, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. And the Hierophant is connected to Taurus. So I think of that full moon happening in where the sun is in the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio. That's going to actually be, I believe it's May 18th. So that might be timing. And that's when you're, well, no, the sun can't be in, yes, it can. Yeah, so it must be like a late degree of Scorpio and a late degree of Taurus. So that might be, that's right before your solar return. So that might be when you meet someone, actually. So these might be timing cards. So in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this, Gemini. And if you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.